It's so aggressive.
The
You
Rock
can do both.
says.
I can only do the
Damn,
one.
you can't.
I can barely
Welcome
do it.
back to the BG Perform podcast with my co-host, Coach Jerry Hayes. Jerry, how are we feeling? How was the week?
Feeling good. Had a nice reset. I was in New York with the boys. One of my best friends is getting married, so we had the bachelor party this weekend. I had more drinks this weekend than I had in the past 2 years combined, which doesn't say a lot because I don't drink. So,
Yeah.
but it was good. I had enough that had a little buzz going, but not
All right.
I didn't throw up or anything. I wasn't that guy.
All
So it
right.
was nice. It was nice to just kind of kick back, relax. I ate a ton of desserts, ton of stuff I usually don't. So I was just kind of taking a break from discipline for a bit, which was nice. It felt good.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
I actually had the best whiskey of my life last Monday.
Really? What are we talking?
It was I'm gonna mess this up because I can't remember the specific name of it, but I know it was like a brown sugar cinnamon oatmeal with maple syrup, old fashioned.
So you poured whiskey into Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It was
It was the milk.
it was so good. It was so good.
It
I went
sounds
out to
good,
dinner
dude.
with my friend and his girlfriend and my girlfriend, and we went to the Coat Room in Saratoga. And his friend was
Yeah.
like the bartender, and he was like, "Oh, I'm testing out like new drinks for the menu for next month." He's like, "Try this," and I was like, "I'm a fucking sucker for some whiskey once in a while." Again, I don't drink,
Yeah.
um, and it was so good. It was probably one of the best things I've ever had. So
Yeah, dude.
I
You
know our
drink less
generation
than
is like,
I do, and I can't tell you the last time I had more than 2 beers in a sitting.
yeah. I mean,
Besides this weekend.
I only drink whiskey. Like I really only drink whiskey. I don't drink beer. I've never been really the biggest fan of beer.
Well, you're not a
I
carbon guy,
Yeah,
carbonation guy. I mean,
yeah, because I can't burp. I have
yeah.
RCPD, self-diagnosed
You
RCPD.
got super
Just
quiet out of nowhere. What just happened? Was that me?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Speak again.
Can you hear me?
I think.
Okay, I hope
I don't
so.
know if it's you or me. I don't know what's happening. It's
Well,
whatever.
my voice thing's moving, so it must be you. But we have yeah. So I don't drink that much. I probably drink one whiskey on like special occasions, like my birthday, Christmas, maybe on Thanksgiving this year. But I think our generation's probably they keep saying is like the least drinking generation. Like,
It's a generation after us. Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Well, Gen Alpha's like super young, so they better not be drinking. I think they're like 10. But
chugging beers.
Gen Z is after us.
Well,
They're the
whatever.
ones who
We're not
are
drinking.
drinking way less.
They're
Yeah.
not drinking. We're not drinking.
Yeah.
Just fridge cigarettes, white
Fridge
monsters.
cigarettes?
You ever
Oh,
heard that?
that's the thing. I've never heard that.
Fridge
I had a
cigarettes. Have you ever
fridge
heard
cigarette this morning.
that?
The fridge cig? I love it.
So today we're going to be diving into the concept, or I guess framework, around the first 30 days with a new client. I think as a coach, this is probably one of the more important things, because this, like, to me, the first 30 days with a client literally like sets you up for success or failure, right? And I think when you're looking to create buy-in, and this is another thing too, kind of to preface this, right? Like, as a coach, realistically, we should never just be doing like a month with a client, right? Because if you really want to create buy-in, if you really want to create opportunities for success with clients, like, you're going to need at least 3 months, right? And I'm going to explain why today, and we're going to like dive into this topic. But I think with coaching, right, if you're just focusing on the first 30 days, like, the first 30 days of coaching is probably the single most important time, not only as, like, again, the coach, but as the client, to create a foundation that's going to get you where you want to be, right? And I think when we actually dive into this, like, what I want you guys to kind of take away from today is having a framework of what the first 30 days should look like, what the goal really is at the end of that 30 days for that client, and again, why that sets us up for success for literally years down the line, right? And I think if you can build this first month right, you're going to create clients that stay, get really good results, and then refer people to you. Anything to add to that?
No, I'm ready to jump into this one. I'm actually really excited for this one.
Yeah. So I think, starting with obviously like my own personal experience, like, I just finished the first 30 days with one of my clients, and the guy I've kind of mentioned a couple of times. And I really think like he's a great example, because I think he's like the only client I talk about. People are probably like, "Is he your only client?" You know, it's like,
He's
but
just that guy.
it's just been perfect. It's been like a perfect kind of segue as we've gotten to some of these topics. But I just finished the first 30 days with him, and in my opinion, it couldn't have gone better for a few reasons. One, he was someone who had so much in front of him, on actually getting into the gym and accomplishing what he wanted to accomplish. And I think with that being said, there was so much more that had to be done to actually get him into the gym and stay in the gym. And I later found out, like, we've been training for a month, and this was like the longest he's held consistent training, and I don't even know how long, right? So for me, like, just kind of starting off this podcast is just the end of the first month really should be like the roadmap should be drawn by that point, right? And I think with someone like Jim, who I've gone through, there's been so many positives, like, there's been so many positives about um how he's progressed, how he's thinking about things, how he's doing better outside of the gym as well. And there's signs with the messages I'm getting, with the things he's able to accomplish on a daily basis, with the amount of steps he's getting, like, going places, going on vacations, whatever, and being able to maintain what he's doing. Like, those are huge pieces to the puzzle that I think are crucial, right? And I think that when you break it down and you look at, like, what was my goal at the beginning and what happened at the end of the 30 days, like, this was the perfect setup for what's to come. And I think that in my coaching, I always sit down and I talk with people. And when I sit down with most people at the beginning, I'm like, hey, listen, obviously, we want to get to X goal, right? We want to accomplish weight loss, we want to accomplish a skill increase, power output, whatever it might be. But we're going to need time to do that, right? And we're going to need opportunities to get rid of some of the things that are going to get in the way of success. And that first month is what allows that. So when I sat down, or when I sit down with new clients, I'm like, hey, this is really a 3-month process, right? And this is why I kind of mentioned at the beginning, like, you really shouldn't be coaching people for just a month. And if you are, that's when things usually don't work out. And as a coach, like, one of the things I can tell you is you need to kind of put that out there in the beginning, like, hey, I'm going to need at least 3 months of your time, right? And then after the 3 months, if you decide that's not for you, that's great. But 1 month is just never enough to actually see results, because of the things we're going to talk about today, right? So I think that when you sit down, you have to be honest, and you have to be upfront with these guys and say, if you really want success, like, this is going to take at least 3 months. If you really, like, truly want to get where you want to get, it's going to be 6 months to a year, right? And, like, we have to. And I had a conversation with my mentor about this, and we were talking about just the process of, like, working with some of these people who have these big lofty goals, but then they don't really understand. It's like, how long did it actually take you to get to the position you're in now, right? If you ask somebody that, they might be like 5-10 years. And it's like, and what makes you think you're just going to fix that in 6 months? Like, it's probably going to take 5 or 10 years in reverse to get out of it. And people just have these unrealistic expectations, and they just don't understand. And that's why it's our job as a coach to say, like, hey, yeah, we can get you to that spot, but it's going to take time. Like, this isn't going to be a 6-month thing. This isn't going to be a 2-month thing, right? Like, this is going to be a year thing, right? 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be. So I think, like, my story, or like my, you know, background is, like, the first month, having it just ended with somebody, like, I think it's very fresh, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic, because there's so much good that can come from it as a coach if you do this in the right way.
Yeah, that initial, either whether it's an online client, that initial consultation call, or in person client and it's a call or whatever, or meeting with them for the first time, that's the foundation to set expectations, obviously, for them, expectations for you, what type of client this is going to be. Speaking from, like, personal experience, recently I was working with a client who very much, like, it's an LA client. This is exactly what you're going to face. If you come to LA, this is what you're going to see.
This doesn't actually want to work out.
Yeah, I want this filler, this whatever, this. I want this surgery, that surgery. I want the quickest fix. I want to go on
I want surgery.
800 to 1,200 calories a day, like, really low, but, like, working out 5 days a week. This is, like, the stuff that you have to try and build past, and it's really difficult. And to be honest, I lost this client and I did my best to try and give them expectations, but I did that same thing. I took them through my expectations of them, what they should expect from me. Day one, I said, this is going to be at least 3 months until we see a big change. Within the first 2 months, I think it was a month and a half to 2 months, they did a DEXA scan and they ended up seeing a lot of body fat percentage lost. Their main goal was to lose body fat percentage. Muscle mass barely went up, maybe like zero point 0.1 pounds. The biggest change was body fat percentage lost. Lean mass also goes up just from water and stuff too. So like you could see the differences for those of you who don't know. Like you could see the lean mass gain, the muscle mass, whatever. But because they were toning up, right, or toning down, whichever one you want to say, they were getting leaner. They saw the muscle come through, and they instantly thought, "I'm gaining way too much muscle," which this person was eating less than their basal metabolic rate because that's what I could only get them up to at the time because they were scared of the food, that type of thing. And no matter what I did, what I said, they were always looking at the fastest results that you could get, whether it was some type of injection, surgery, supplement, whatever it is. They just did not want to go the long run with the training. And it's unfortunate, but that's something that you face a lot of in LA is people who are just, they want the quick fix quick.
Well, I think you can, a lot of the times you can get it. Like you can get a lot of those.
Yeah,
quick
you can get a
fixes,
quick fix
you
for
know?
a lot of things, and it
Well, even
sucks
like
because
now,
people
you're
assume
seeing
fitness.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
No, I was gonna say people assume you could do it in fitness, and like the amount of Chat GPT conversations I had with this client, where like I asked Chat GPT this and be like, well, this, and I give an explanation like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, ask it, and it'll ask, and then I'm right, and then it's like, see, ask it this thing, and then they ask, and I'm right, and they're like, but I want the results now, and it's like, yeah, you can't fucking have it, you can't have it now, like so. That's the biggest thing is like clear communication, expectations. But like going forward with this client specifically, it was like I promise you're just gonna have to trust the process. And they were like, all right, maybe I'll give it a shot. I will not move forward with an LA client again unless I say I will trust this process. I will trust it. The maybe I'll give it a shot thing in LA, it might as well just like not take on that client.
Yeah, and I think another big piece of it too is like you see what happens when you try to take the shortcuts, right? Like now people went through the Ozempic craze, they went through the
That's the other thing
GLP
is they
ones,
wanted to
whatever
do
they're called,
Ozempic. Yeah.
and they're all going through that whole, you know, if you did like this is going to be the thing in 10 years where it's like if you took Ozempic 10 years ago, like you might be entitled to compensation. Like that's going to be
Dude.
what
Well,
it is. And
her last trainer had her doing an apple, a salad, and a chicken breast a day.
that's crazy.
I know.
Maybe one of
And
those
she was like,
rotisserie
I
chickens?
lost weight quick. And it's like, did you feel weak? And she's like, yeah. I was like, did you feel like even sleep was off? She goes, yeah. I was like, that's not good. That's not what you want. So yeah, those discussions are insane to me. But set the foundation. Expectations are clear. Communication is very upfront. Make sure everything is put out. I don't know the word I'm looking for. I'm off little sleep. I just flew in last night.
Yeah.
Off of put it on a billboard, right?
Yeah.
Make it very clear, very clear.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think one of the things that's like really important is like you said, how like setting the tone for success, right? And I think diving into this topic like in full right now, like the first 30 days of a new client really should be an opportunity for you to again get rid of all the things that could possibly get in the way of not having success, right? And I think that's like one of the biggest things is people try to go into this with like, all right, it's the first 30 days. I need to get this person to see results. I need to get this person to look different, feel different, whatever it is. And that's the case, right? That's going to happen. And I think this is one of the biggest things. It's like, don't rush, right? And if you try to rush, you're either going to put this person in a bad position, you're going to put them in a position where they can't actually sustain anything, or you're going to put them in a position where at the end of the day, they either become fed up and they don't want to continue to train. And that's not where you want to be with anybody, right? And I think one of the biggest opportunities, like I said, in the first 30 days with somebody is allowing them to learn. And that, like, to me, like, again, at the end of the first 30 days, if someone can understand a written program without having to ask, that is a win, right? Because yes, maybe they didn't lose 20 pounds. Yes, maybe their squat didn't go up by 20 pounds. Maybe they aren't feeling 100%. Their sleep's not 100% better, right? But there's a couple key factors that I look for inside the first 30 months that I think every client or every coach should look for in their client. First is, again, the ability to kind of look at a program and kind of understand what they're looking at, right? Doesn't mean they have to be able to write a program, but they can look at it and say, okay, 3 sets, 5 reps. Here's the tempo. Here's what I did last week. Maybe I can jump a little bit, right? They're starting to have that process figured out. Second is understanding the language that you're using, right? SA, DB, OH, bench press, RDL, deadlift, and know what it is, right? Like having someone walk into the door and they're going to, hey, we're back squatting today. And they're going to be like, okay, cool. I'll help you set the bar up. Or, okay, which rack are we going to use, right? Not coming in and say, we're going to deadlift. And they're going to be like, what do you mean? Like, what is that? Right? Like these are sort of the things that, again, get in the way of actual success, right? Because even if you go 110% and everything goes perfect in the first month, you're still not going to see like crazy, crazy results, right? Because there's so much in the first month that people forget about in regards to what actually gets in the way of success in the gym. It might be movement limitations. It might be aerobic capacity. It might be mental capacity. It might be environment. It might be travel capabilities. Like there could be so many things that are getting in the way of actual success. And in the first 30 days, it's trying to eliminate as many of those as possible. For example, right? One of the biggest things I see in the first 30 days is never in the gym problems, right? It's never like they come to the gym and they're usually killing it. They're usually in the gym. They're doing great. They're doing the workouts. But then it's like, okay, what's happening outside of the gym, right? What's happening on the days they're not training? Are they getting their steps in? Are they doing the work that is either prescribed for them or lack thereof? Are they following the actual prescription when they're not with you? And half of the time they're usually not, right? More than half the time they're usually not. So it's allowing that first 30 days to kind of nip that in the butt, or to nip the mindset in the butt, or to nip the idea of like, hey, I need to be at X place in X amount of time, where it's like, hey, that's fine, but like if you want that, you got to give up all of this, right? And it's like finding that in between where you're actually getting the results, but doing it in a way that at the end of the day, they can maintain for the rest of their life, right? It's the same thing. It's like, I was having another conversation with my client because I have another new client that I'm starting with, and we were just having a conversation about nutrition. And one of the conversations was like, this person comes from a very strict nutritional background where everything was tracked to the T, where they were competing, they were putting themselves in a position where they had to be X amount of weight at X amount of time. And, I kind of sat down with them and they were like, hey, you tell me what we're going to do and I'm going to do it. And I was like, cool. Well, we're not going to do any of that. I was like, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back and we're actually going to kind of look at this from a real perspective of like, what are you eating? When are you eating? And we're just going to start there. And then we're going to start to build this out at a place that we know where our baseline is and we can progress from there. And when I talked to my mentor about it, he was like, well, if anybody ever comes to you and asks you that, is like, hey, do you want to be doing this when you're 80? Like, do you want to be tracking macros when you're 80? And the real question is, if you say yes, then you're probably a psycho, right? But,
Yeah,
no one wants to be tracking macros now. Like, so I'm sure you don't want to be tracking macros when you're 80. So I think the biggest thing here is like understanding like, hey, how do I actually build habits? How do I actually build a foundation that gets me to where I want to be? And what do I need to learn to do that, right? And I need to learn food awareness, right? When and where am I eating? Why am I eating? How am I eating? That sort of thing. What times am I eating? When I am eating, is it because I'm actually hungry, or am I bored? Am I dehydrated? Did something happen in the day? Like, what are the triggers? That sort of thing. Because if you can knock all that out, you can get a lot done for your aesthetics and your actual like intake of food by just literally looking at what you eat when you eat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being as simple as like, hey, I'm eating a full sleeve of Oreos at night. Let's try to eat half. And then let's try to eat half of that. What'd you say?
I call that doing a line of Oreos.
Doing a line. Doing a line of the Snow White.
Yeah.
Doing a line. I've been watching too much Peaky Blinders. But just got to the part where Luca Changretta got
no spoilers. You don't
oh,
know.
yeah, you're right. I don't know.
People might not watch it.
Hey,
Luca
Tommy
Changretta's
Shelby.
the shit though.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
You said you hated his voice.
No. I was It wasn't him.
Oh, okay.
His voice is it's almost like Marlon Brando, like he's going for
Yeah.
the it's a callback to that. But either way, going
Him and
on.
Alfie
Sorry.
Solomon's one of my favorites. Anyways,
Yeah.
um,
Finishing a sleeve of Oreos, doing like yeah.
yeah. So and if you're eating a whole sleeve of Oreos, it's like let's eat half of that, right? And then at
And
the
give the
next
half to
week is
me.
like let's eat half of that, and then let's dwindle it down to a point where it's like, hey, we're only having a little bit. Now we can start to add stuff in. It's like, hey, maybe instead of eating all this sugar at lunch, maybe we're eating fruit, right? Maybe instead of eating, this big, carby filled, fries and whatever at lunch, it's like, hey, let's have a piece of chicken and some rice, right? I'm not attacking carbs there. I'm just saying like, you know, avoiding like
Like
French
just you're not just
fries.
having straight pasta.
Yeah, yeah.
Pasta and
Um,
cheese.
so those sort of things where it's like we're trying to get as much information as possible in the first 30 months and weed
Days.
out all the. Or, I keep saying 30 months. It's the third time I've done that, and I literally thought about it the last time I said it. In the first 30 days, and trying to make sure we're, if again, if these problems arise, it's just building a plan so we know that they may come up again and avoiding them, right? But it's also trying to nip in the butt as many as we possibly can. Anything to add to that?
With the kind of that's very much like habit building but habit awareness, and I
Mhm.
like it because that's I use that opportunity within the first 30 days, and I always tell them, I say anything that feels like an obstacle or a roadblock, I want you to write it down, and we can talk about it in our next session or talk about it whatever. And when you're
I think even that, not to cut you off, but even that alone is like to get them to own up to something. If you can do that in the first 30 days, like that's a fucking like think about how much of a win that is if you can have someone own up to the problems that they actually have and they're being honest with you and be like, yeah, I eat a sleeve of Oreos at night. And you're like,
well, I
okay,
mean, that's
cool,
one of
now we
those
can
things
fix
that
it.
we spoke about that too, is just building the trust. As you do these things and you go about it this way, it's going to naturally build trust. They're going to be like, all right,
Mhm.
they're not judging me for what I'm doing. They're not telling me that I'm terrible for what I did. They're like, if my client told me like, dude, I had a sleeve of Oreos last night, I'm like, dude, we all make mistakes. And then I
Mhm.
would go about it the same way you did. Be like, next time, let's just try and get it to half. If you need to, take them out of the sleeve. Because if you have it there, it's like, I can reach another one. Put them in a bowl. Take that bowl away. Put the other food away. Eat those. When you're done, you're done. Because then you have to take the steps of grabbing more, doing all that stuff. So like finding little solutions to problems that seem small, bring those problems to the forefront and kind of bring light to those problems. You make them realize that they have a lot more control over those little things that seem so big.
Yeah, and I think it's like for me, and I don't know your thoughts on this because obviously I think there's a time and a place for like hard coaching, right? And I think some people
Yeah.
need to be hard coached where it's like, bro,
Mhm.
like stop, you're being an idiot. Or like obviously you're making conscious decisions to eat a whole roll of Oreos when we've talked about this 4 or 5 times, right? There's a line that needs to be crossed between coaching and hand holding, right?
Don't buy the Oreos
Yeah.
then.
And I think that there's a time and a place where it's like, hey, early on in this relationship, I think you need to show a little bit of empathy and a little bit of just like, hey, here's some room to work, right?
Yeah,
Here's some
yeah.
room to make mistakes. Here's some room to say at the end of the day, like, I get it, right? Like it happens, let's work on it. But I think at the end, like, if you're being honest, there comes a point too where you have to kind of put your foot down and be like, bro, like, or ma'am, we talked about this, bro or sis.
Mams can be bros.
Yeah. We talked about this, 3 or 4 times and you're still deciding to make that decision, right? And if that's the case, then we either cannot buy this or we need to figure something else out that works. But I'm saying that because in the first 30 days for me, there's a lot more leniency in what's going on because there is a lot of change. You are introducing somebody into a completely new lifestyle. You're essentially taking everything that they were doing and flipping it on its head and being like, hey, and this is another thing too, like in the first 30 days, avoiding any type of like negativity towards what they do is really important because a lot of these people, like again, a lot of these people come in with very bad self-esteem, already beating themselves up on a daily basis, already telling themselves everything that they're doing wrong. And it's not to say like, hey, you're here for a reason to be coached. Like you still want to coach them, but you
Mhm.
just want to be cautious of like the first thing you do when you get in is telling them everything that's wrong with them. Right. It's because like nobody wants to hear that. Even if you're feeling
Yeah.
great and you're feeling your best, like if you walk into a room and the first thing is like, you're bald, your shirt's too tight, your feet are weird, your knees looks weird. It's like, okay, well, like, what
At
the
the end
hell?
of the
Why am I
list, you
here?
turn around like you're done, and then you turn around and go, and I heard you have a really small wiener, and then you sprint out of the gym.
But seriously, like, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to go into a
Yeah.
gym or any setting and just be told everything that they're wrong, right? I think obviously us as coaches, we're smart enough and we have enough of a setting that we can tell what's going on in front of us and say, like, all right, this person clearly has commitment issues, or this person clearly lacks the accountability needed to kind of do this. So we need to kind of put that in, right? And you want to be upfront and be like, hey, here's what I'm seeing, right? But I still think there's a way to do that without causing so many, beginning of just like essentially just being like, yeah, you're stupid, you're a piece of shit, like you can't do anything right, and that just causes way more problems than it does. And that first month is about building momentum, building confidence, building awareness. And if you can hit those few things in the first 30 days of training, I'm telling you, like, the months after that are so much more beneficial because you're literally taking away everything that could go wrong, right? Like I said,
Hmm.
if we actually look at this, what are the most important things in a program if someone was going to do it on their own, right? They need to understand the program. They need to be able to read the program. They need to be able to execute the program. And they need to be able to, again, reflect and say what needs to improve. And if they can't do any of that, then it doesn't really matter, like, again, what you give them. And we've had this conversation 100 times. Like, you could have the best program in the world, but if you don't execute on it, then literally it doesn't matter, right? Like, I just drafted my fantasy team. I thought they were the best team in the world. They didn't execute.
Joe Burrow didn't do anything for me this weekend, and I was
Joe
pissed.
Burrow did not do anything for me
Dude,
this
who would
weekend.
have thought I should play Justin Fields over Joe Burrow?
Yeah, exactly.
Not me.
I've never heard you say this. Wow, I'm actually surprised right now.
I'm watching more football. I got you, brother.
Wow, just taking
I
it
just
back.
blew his mind. Dude, I haven't paid attention to football this much since like '08, bro.
I mean, not to switch subjects, but I've literally never expected Jerry to know who Justin Fields was, first off, and pulled that out of his ass. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll never forget who Joe Burrow is because he's pissing me the fuck off.
Joe Shiesty is, well, don't worry. Joe Burrow always
He'll
has
turn
slow
up.
Septembers.
He'll turn up.
His Septembers are always slow, and then October, his first October game, he's gonna go off for like 40 points. That's
This
how
is
it is
what I've
every
been
single
told.
year.
It'll be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Good. He's my favorite player. I bet.
Yeah, he
he's
better
gonna go.
turn up though.
He's gonna.
We have to talk about football after this because I do want to talk to you about some things.
Okay.
But
Wow.
yeah.
This is.
But either way, one
this is
thing
absurd.
I want to add to that though. What you
This is
just
like your
said,
high school
Brandon's-
crush turning around and being like, "I actually like you," and you're like,
It's
well,
like-
"What?"
It's like I'm the nerd with the glasses and I take it off and you ignore the sty and you're like, he's actually kind of handsome.
That's crazy.
To add to what you were saying though, those first 30 days being really important to not like crush their spirits, letting your clients know that the margin for error is much wider. Because you'll also have clients say like, I don't know if I have a goal. I just want to be better. I want to feel better. And I say, that's all right. Like sometimes it takes training to find a goal. And then when you want to hit those goals, like you'll let them know as they hit their first goal, their smaller start, they're getting there and they're like, wow, okay, that felt great. And then they're like, now I kind of want to do this. And it's like, all right, now that we're here and you want to get to here, the margin of error is going to shrink. It's like that maze where it used to scare people at the end, where you bring the mouse through and then at the end it pops up.
Oh yeah.
Very simple. It just starts out really thick. You got to bring the mouse through, and then it starts to get smaller, less room for error. The longer you're working with someone, the more specific the goal is. It's going to be harder, and more effort is going to be need to put in to hit those goals for the most part. Some of them not so much. But in the beginning, you do have a big margin for error that you can work with, and it's also good for multiple reasons. But the main thing is it doesn't crush them.
Yeah, and I think if you talk about this from almost like a parenting perspective, right? Obviously, I don't have any kids. You don't have any kids, so we can only speak on it. But like, have you ever seen those kind of videos where like the kids, like a kid's like walking through, and the parents like deflecting all the things and like pushing him out of the way, and the kid makes it to the other side, and he's like, "Oh, that was awesome," and then the dad's just like covered in shit, like just because he took all the. It's like that's the sort of thing as like a trainer, like at the end of that first month, you want to kind of like be like, "Don't go that way." Push them this way, bump
You're
them
guiding
into the
them a little
left, take whatever damage. So like at the end, you're covered in scars, but they're like, oh, great, look at what we did. And you're like, fantastic, right?
They're bowling with bumpers.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's part of that first month is like understanding it's going to be a little bit frustrating. It's going to be a little bit, you know, tedious. You're going to have some of these conversations and be like, I literally just said this to you 2 sets ago. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but like it's all so
Yeah.
after that second and third month, that's when all those things kind of get taken away. All the problems get taken away and you really get to the issue at hand or the things you need, and then the results start pouring in, right? And
Mhm.
that's, if there's anything I can say like that you take away from this podcast, is that the first 30 days should just be a focus on getting everything out of the way that you possibly can, so that when the time actually comes to do work, you're going to do work, right? And you're going to get the results that you need. Because even in the first month physically, you're not going to be able to accomplish enough to make significant change in your body, right? It's momentum. Again, it's building momentum. It's getting to the gym 3 times a week for 4 weeks. It's taking 10,000 steps a day for an entire month. It's, you know, stepping up and saying, hey, I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier and I'm going to take some time to eat a good breakfast, or I'm going to drink an X amount of water throughout the day, whatever I'm in need of. I'm going to drink electrolytes. I'm going to start to think about fitness a little bit differently. Like if you can start to hit these things, then at the end of 3 months, what could have been or what might have been like a 10-pound weight loss could be a 20-pound weight loss, right? And
Mhm.
it's just taking that little small step in the beginning where it's like almost feels like 2 steps back for 1 step forward, to then take 3 and 10 steps forward in the, you know, the following months. Is that anything to add to that?
No, that's great. That's because it's the snowball effect. Because
Yeah.
you start to really dial in and you become better. Like they
Yeah, and
become better.
I think one of the things you kind of mentioned earlier is like, you know, communication, right? Like, again, setting the tone early and saying, like, hey, here's what I do, here's how I do it, right? Here's what I'm expecting from you as a client. I'm expecting you to answer me when I text you. I'm expecting you to give me feedback on movements. I'm expecting you to keep track of the weight. I'm expecting you to write down your food and build this awareness. I'm expecting you to ask questions about things you don't understand so that we can continue to build this in the best way possible, right? And I think that the biggest thing that we don't want to, you know, again, do is put people in a position where they're either feeling uncomfortable or we lose momentum or we're just not getting, you know, just not building the right foundation to move forward, right? And I
Mhm.
think that evaluating that early on, and that's why it's so important in that beginning phase, like that very first conversation, is understanding like what does this person actually need help with, right? Like there's a lot of things getting thrown around and there's a lot of words, and I eat healthy, I take care of myself, my priorities are in order. And then that's why these questions are really important, where it's like, hey, well, okay, your priorities are in order, that's great, you eat healthy, so tell me a little bit about your day. Oh, well, I wake up at like 8. I have to be at work by 9. I usually don't pack a lunch. I'll just, kind of go out to eat whatever's around. There's some food trucks out front, so I'll usually go there for lunch. I come home. I'm usually super tired because I've had 3 coffees in the day. And if I have time and I feel like it, I'll cook. If not, I'll just go to McDonald's. And then I usually stay up until like 12, but I usually have to wake up at 6. So I'll just slam a Monster in the morning and I'll have consistent energy drinks all the time, all day. Coffee's this, coffee. And like, all right. So like, obviously that's not the case. Right. And like I said, it's just so important to have those questions set in place so that you can know. And once you ask them enough times, you're going to be able to see, right? You're going to have someone sit down and they're going to be like, oh, my priorities are in order. You're going to ask them that question. And you're going to be like, all right, well, this guy's obviously not serious, right? And if he is, like, I need this from him. And you might need to change the expectations and be like, hey, if you're serious about this, then like I need this from you, right? I need X, Y, and Z from you. And you might get another client. Like I've had clients in the past. Again, like I'm working with this fighter, Cole, the dream client. Cole is like a dream client. He's there's a reason why he's 5-0 his last 5 fights. Like he's working hard. And I think it's just like the day that I signed him up was I gave him a list of things to do, and within 30 minutes, he was like, cool, what's next? I was like, whoa. I was like, all right, well, I usually people don't finish it this fast, but that's great. Here's what we got to do next. I'm gonna get everything set for you. Within 2 days, we were like started and we going. With other people, it's like, all right, I'll fill it out. Then it's 2 days later. It's like, hey, still haven't heard from you. Still haven't filled out anything. That sort of thing. And like, I'm trying to buffer that out more as a coach. And I think these systems and having these things in place really buffer it out, because if you actually sit down with somebody at the beginning and you say, hey, this is going to take 3 months minimum, And like, you might not even get where you want to get at the end of that 3 months, but we're going to have most of the things figured out in 3 months. If they're serious, they're going to be like, yeah, of course. Like, I feel like that's what I need to do. Right. If they're not, they're going to be like, oh, 3 months is a long time. Like, what about 1 month, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, if that's what you want, I'm just not your guy. Or, you give them what you can in a month. But like, I just personally, I don't do that anymore. And I just don't like the feeling of training someone for just a month, because it's like you miss out on so much, and you're almost like, okay, well, what do I do in the month? Right.
Well, the first couple of weeks too is a big learning curve, especially if they haven't done it
Exactly.
before. It's like, all right, first we got to learn how to hinge before you even throw weight on.
That's another thing. Again, that's another huge thing I haven't even mentioned, and like the movement quality, right? Like, how can you expect to get progress if you can't do the movements right? Right? It's like you literally, like, it's just like, you're not going to make any progress if you're not able to. Like, to a certain degree, as long as you're moving, you'll make some sort of progress. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing it correctly, it's going to stop. Like, there's going to be a plateau. There's going to be a ceiling to it. And we don't want a ceiling. We want to continuously get better and improve.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
go on.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I think that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say that just making sure as a coach that you have every piece that you can control in check. That's like, again, just setting expectations, understanding how they move, what their biggest issues are with movement, what their biggest downfalls are as far as following a program or following direction. Finding out as much as you can about them in that initial call is what's going to allow you to not only build a better program, but it's going to give you a better understanding of their window for success. Because if they're coming in and they're like a hot mess and they can't control anything, they are going to the food trucks, they're not sleeping, they're drinking 700 milligrams of caffeine a day just to get through it, and they're still falling asleep at work. Not bad. Those are the things that you need to know about so you can give them a realistic expectation of results. Because, it might take 3 to 6 months for somebody who's on top of their stuff. But if they're not and they're still struggling to go through it, and you're really coaching them on the lifestyle aspects of things, that 3 to 6 months might be 9 to 12. So just trying to give them a realistic expectation. In order to do that, you need to have a realistic understanding of what they're capable of and what their downfalls and
it's such a, I feel like it's such a, like, obvious thing. It's like, if you're someone who's going into a situation asking for crazy results, right? Like, nobody can seriously, like, outside of the use of drugs or absurd things, right? Like, you're not going to reach some of these goals within the time that you're expecting, right? And it's our job as trainers to, again, nip it in the butt by being like, hey, of course it's possible, right? Nothing's impossible, but like, I'm not going to be the one to do that for you, right?
Yeah.
And like, really standing your ground on that, because it's so important as a trainer. Like, if you want your business to succeed, is to avoid those clients like the plague. Avoid those people who are coming in being like, I'm trying to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And this is why, like, I'm going to save this because I don't want to get into this point. Yeah. But let's get into the drill. Let's get into, actually, no, we should get into the hot topic. Yeah. The hot take of the day.
Also,
and
just nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud?
B-U-D.
Nip it in the bud. Bud. Okay.
I don't remember why. Don't remember where it came from.
Bud. Okay.
Nipping someone in the butt sounds like you're just going a Squidward bite. Krabby Patty.
You're right. My hot take of the day is that challenges and all these like very short things that get people involved in fitness, while they're great, they are the complete opposite of what the first month should look like for a client, right? Obviously, with like some of these challenges, they're built correct and they're built with like aspects of actual learning involved. But for the most part, like, a lot of these challenges are just like the 90-day weight loss challenge, the 90-day muscle challenge, like whatever it might be. It's like such a detriment to people's real fitness, because it gives them this idea that they're supposed to be getting results in 30 days or less, or 21 days or less. And if you don't, you're a failure. And if you do, you probably are going to feel like shit after that and not sustain it, right? So I think like these challenge culture people, or these gyms who run these challenges and do them in a way that almost like are very detrimental to most people is like such a bad look. And that's part of the reason why I've never wanted to do it. And like I've talked to a lot of business people or people who claim they're business people inside the fitness world. And a lot of them talk about the challenge or like, do a 30-day challenge or do a 20-day challenge or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's just not me. Like obviously like I could create a way to make that for me, but in the foundation of it, it sets people up for failure. Because it's like a short time where they're expected to achieve something in X amount of time, and everyone's different. Not everyone's gonna get anything in 21 days. Might not even, again, we've talked about it, might take 6 months before someone starts to see change. And that's a really important thing to put out front, that like real fitness isn't a challenge. Real fitness isn't 21 days. Real fitness isn't 30 days. Real fitness is months and years of consistent work and getting where you want to be from that.
I like it. I'm going to piggyback off of that. You're talking about challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
My hot take, and it's not really a hot take because I feel like a lot of people would agree with it, but people put too much faith in supplements.
Yeah.
And people put too much faith in,
especially in the first 30 days. Like imagine how many times clients can't even cook their own food, and they're
like, I gotta go get protein. Do you know any good protein brands? You're like, yeah, meat. But that's something that I realize is, we've talked about it before, like how big pharma is always coming for you and the money, and they like doctors will give you prescriptions because that's what they're good at, right? They know what the medicine does, but they also know the side effects. And I actually saw this somewhere that all those medicines still have to go through the FDA. They have to show you the side effects and everything. Mm-hmm. But then supplements are just like, here you go. And they're like, this will do this, this will do this. It's really
rancid fish oil, take it. It'll help your joints.
Yeah, right. So I think that people put too much blind faith into supplements, and right now more than ever I believe that to be true, because you think about the TikTok shop, how many people, how many kids, how many influencers are just like, I take this before I go poop every day.
None of them do. None of them do though. Like that's the thing. Like they're just taking it to make their 10 cents or whatever.
Exactly. And they use my promo code so you can poop too. So that's like my biggest hot take right now is that people are putting too much blind faith into supplements without doing any research, without understanding them at all.
You have some very specific ads on your TikTok.
And then you can poop too.
That's funny. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's true. And I think that there's a lot that goes into that conversation, because it's that same conversation. It's like, if you're in the first 30 days of coaching, supplements should literally not even be a conversation unless you're saying do not use supplements yet.
Yeah.
Like that should be
dude, I've had people be like, I just want a good protein brand. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. And they're like, what do you use? I was like, if I use it, I use this. And I
literally haven't used a protein powder in almost like consistently. I've used it a couple times, but like here and there when I've had access to it. But I haven't purchased a protein powder in about 2.5, 3 years.
Dude, and the only reason I use protein powder is because I don't have time to make breakfast in the mornings before I leave. So I make a shake before I go to bed.
But again, think about it. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Like supplements are supplementing.
I got people who are like, I want 5 shakes a day. Give it to me. They go nuts.
It's true. I mean, So I think like within the first 30 days, supplementation is absolutely overrated and almost, again, as detrimental. It's overrated
more than just the first 30 days in general.
And you got to think too, a lot of these people, they're doing these challenges based around supplements. Like think about how many of them are like, in the first 30 days, you're going to take this 21-day challenge and you're going to take beetroot juice for 30 days and you're going to feel amazing.
You're going to squeeze lemon to detoxify your body. You're going to squeeze it into water, and it's like, that's not how that works.
You're going to juice for 30 days.
I know a guy.
You're not going to eat any food. You're going to just drink
really good things.
There are shortcuts.
Still is.
All right, getting to the drill today.
The drill, baby. Let's go.
The drill is obviously the value that you can take home today. I want you guys to really go home from this podcast and actually look at what your goal is for the first month of training for your clients, and be honest. Like actually sit down and be like, when I have a new client, and I guess that's another issue for another time if you don't have any new clients, but if you do have new clients, what is the goal for them when they're stepping through the door, right? Like that first 30 days, what are you trying to accomplish, right? And hopefully you're going to listen to this podcast, go back home and actually think about it and say, or actually if you're already home listening to it, but you're going to go home and think like, okay, this should be how I'm going to start to implement it, right? And if we could kind of put this into a framework, the first 30 days of coaching should be learning, it should be processing, it should be awareness, it should be execution, and anything else you'd add to that? Learning, processing, awareness, execution.
I think that I don't know, mindset.
If one more pops up, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
mindset. Or momentum, I'll call momentum as well. So mindset
Okay,
or momentum. Like those are the things we should be working on. And really none of those things are directly related to like weight loss, right? Or weight gain or like results driven. But what they do is, again, they set us up for results. So the first 30 days in short should be setting someone up to get the results that they want. And that should be the only goal. Because if you're really doing this, that's how you create buy-in. That's how you get real results. And that's how you get people to actually stick around and enjoy what they're doing. And then obviously, like I said, refer others to you, right? And I think it's the biggest mistake that people make is when someone walks through the door, they have this sense of like, I have to prove myself. I have to prove that you belong here. I have to prove that, you're X, Y, and Z. And I think, even for me, I've had, the clients that I'm with right now have all bought in from the beginning. And I've been the most honest I've ever been as a coach. And not that I've ever lied to anybody, but like, I do think I can help a lot of people, right? So when people sit down and like, hey, I want to get to X, Y, and Z goal, it's like, cool, yeah, right? Like we can definitely do that. I've done it before. I've helped, I can't even tell you how many people. And sometimes it just doesn't work because it's environment, it's relationship, it's things that they're not doing, things that I didn't set in the beginning as expectations as a younger coach. And I think that now it's like, I'm in an opportunity now where it's like, hey, I know this stuff. I know what I need from you. I know what you need from me. But if you do not complete this stuff, like it's not going to work, right? And I think that for us to set people up for success, that needs to be the first thing. And after that, it's going to be so simple and so fun, right? Like I've been working with this girl for almost like 6 months now, since I got back, about a month after I got back, and she's getting ready for the police exam. And when she came in, she was like, hey, I want to get ready for this police exam next year, but like I want to do this now because I want to take my time and I just want to be ready for it. And I was like, that's great. I was like, here's where my process goes and here's where I think we can be. And she just benched 60-pound dumbbells for 4 reps the other day, and having never worked out in the gym before, like before that. And I've been working with her for probably six-ish months now. She just squatted 160 for 4 reps. She hit 170 for 5 reps on RDL. And she's running about 6 miles a week, which is great. And her whole like physique has changed. Her outlook's changed. She's push pressing, single arm push pressing in a complex, 40-pound dumbbells.
That's a good
Crushing it. She's crushing
That's a good number.
And like, that's the sort of thing where I was like, in the first month, it was learning, it was movement patterns, it was getting used to the gym, building confidence, learning about her, building the relationship with me, having those questions answered. And then we started to pick up the pace, and she went boom, 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 right? Instead of being so rushing or so, what's the word? Impatient at the beginning and being like, I need to get results now. I need to get results. It's like, no, you're going to get results, but just trust me on this process, right? Trust me that this is going to work and this is what we need to do. And it's worked every single time, right? And that's where it's the process. It's you do it enough times that you know the framework and you have that ability to sit down and say, I've seen this, trust me, and it's going to work.
This train is passing by.
Yeah.
Here, you guys can hear it. Ready? It's so quiet.
Well, anyways, I think we can get to our... Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, that's great. I like it.
Yeah, I think we can get to our last part of the episode, which is the influence pick of the week. I read a book, and the reason why I picked this book for this episode, I read this book towards the middle of last year, and it's called The Little Black Book of Training Wisdom by Dan John. And the reason why I think this is so important is because fitness is so again, so loud at times. And there's so much that gets tossed in your face, and you just kind of have to almost like keep your hands up and, dodge and deflect and do what you got to do. Right. And I think that with this book, it did such a good job for me, kind of reminding me and really showing me like the basics. Like, what do you need? Right. What is real progressive training? What does it look like? What is, the basics of writing a program? And like this book just did that in such a easy, simplistic, digestible way for me as a coach that, I can't recommend it enough to anybody. And I think that I think you can get it on Amazon. It's by Dan John, and it's I think it's forwarded by Dan Cleather or something Cleather. I forgot the guy's name, but it's a great book. Such great information. Really good foundational book, especially if you're very early on in your career. I think it's a super important book for you to read. Grab a highlighter, grab a notebook, write in the book, whatever you got to do. But I think that book's like crucial for somebody who's stepping into the industry as a coach. And yeah, maybe I can link it down below in the podcast too.
Yeah, I was just looking for an image because my book is somewhere packed up. I was just looking for an image of the book that I was going to recommend too.
Yeah.
But wait, did you have anything else to add to that?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to pull it up. So the one that I got is called Lead for God's Sake.
Right.
It's a book. It's kind of a little like, I mean, with the title For God's Sake, it has like a religious kind of push behind it. But even if you're not religious, which if you are or aren't, good for you. But even if you're not, it has a good message behind it, and it's honestly a really good book for especially strength coaches to read who are working with teams. So even like teams who are whether it's small group or large group and you're working with a full team, it's a really good way to build communication and understand how to speak to groups of people. And that book was actually recommended to me by one of the coaches that I was working under when I first started training. So I think I read this back in 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Within like one of my first 2 years. And it follows a guy who's like coaching his high school basketball team, and they're like, I think they just come off like a losing streak where it was just terrible, and he's being guided by somebody to have a better, clearer message and how to give a clear message to people. And I think it kind of fits in really well with what we're doing today, because building communication and a clear message to somebody from the beginning is arguably the most important thing that you could do for client success in personal training or team-based stuff. So that is my pick. I remember like reading it and being like, it's a little corny at times, but a good corny. And
Yeah.
I probably will end up reading that again. It was really good.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful work. I hope you guys took a lot away from this, because I really do think this is probably one of the most important aspects of coaching and training. And I really do think that like if you can get this part right in your process, like you're gonna be a great coach, and you're gonna create really good experience for a lot of people. But appreciate you guys for sticking around this long, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Go check out the influence picks. Go vote for me. www.worldmmaawards.com/vote.
Trainer of the year,
For
baby.
trainer of the year. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, if you have any recommendations on how to get rid of a sty, let your boy know.
I think you're supposed to like soak or like something with like steaming water or salt water or something like that.
I don't want to put salt water in my eye. That sounds freaking awful.
I think you're supposed to put your face on a pillow that someone just farted on. Then it cures it.
Yeah, that'll clear up the sty and give you pink eye instead.
Completely forget about the sty.
Yeah.
Just get pink eye.
I don't even remember I had it. I can't even open my eyes. Can't see it.
That's funny.
Anyway,
we appreciate
vote for
you
Brandon,
guys.
Trainer of the year.
Yes. Oh yeah. Other thing too, the free guide for choosing a goal, choosing how goals change everything, or choosing a worthy goal, the fight camp mentality, whatever way you want to call it. Download the free guide if you go to my link, the link in my bio. It's the very first section. You hit that, put your email in, and you'll get that book sent to you right away. It's a free guide, free ebook. It's going to help you how to basically build a worthy goal, choose something that's going to get you out of bed in the morning and make training a lot easier so you can get those results that you've always been looking for. So it's absolutely free. Go click the link in my bio, go
On
vote for
Instagram.
me, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.